But one of the things that's come up, Chris, over the course of the last week or so, basically that Aaron Rodgers should be happy where he is, that the team around him is better than people would otherwise say that it is, and that maybe the grass isn't any greener somewhere else, and maybe Aaron Rodgers is one of the reasons why they only have one Super Bowl over the past 16 years. So let's take a closer look, position by position, at the Packers roster, and then we'll give it an objective, fair assessment as to whether or not this team is holding him back from being a guy that has more pelts on the wall or on the horse, depending upon what your preferred iteration of that statement would be. Let's start with the receivers. They've got Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Amari Rodgers, the rookie, Equanimeous St. Brown, Devin Funchess, who opted out last year, and then at tight end, Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis. Where does that group rank? And there's no calculator you can punch numbers into and get a reliable answer, but just looking at that entire group, where are they? Top third, middle third, lower third of the NFL?
I mean, this is like, it's pretty easy, really, when you break it down, and we're going to do it right here. It's average. It's an average group. It's in the middle third, in the middle of the middle third of football. That's what it is. I mean, listen, we can sit. Who are we writing home about? Devontae Adams, okay. Everybody else is solid. Do you want me to name all the other teams with more dangerous weapons at receiver than the Green Bay Packers? Because it's easy. I could do that. Oh, no. Marquez Valdez-Scantling's coming to town with his 33 receptions? Oh, no. Defenses are quivering in their boots. Oh, my gosh. Mercedes Lewis? And, I mean, not to disrespect these guys, but, like, I'm really trying to...
As you disrespect
Well, no,
them.
I'm disrespecting the idiots on social media who are trying to go like, oh, the team around them's pretty special. Oh, yeah? All 9 receptions for 67 yards in both playoff games from Devontae Adams? Why? Nobody double-teamed him. I mean, what? Like, that's where people are insane with this. These are Rodgers haters coming out. You say what you want. Rodgers being a baby or whatever else, all those type of things. You can't realistically look at this group and have a clue about football and sit here and tell me you think that's a top 10 group in the league, let alone, top 5 or special or very green grass group. Like, get the hell out of here with that.
Haven't we seen on multiple occasions that Devontae Adams comes out of the gates having a big game, and then the defense pivots to taking him away, and that's it?
Well, he's a good
you take him away, and what do they have?
Well, yeah, and he's a good receiver, but he's not a great receiver. Again, when Chris Simms does his top 10 receivers rankings this year again, he will not be in the top 5. He will not. He's really good. I messed up last year. He should have been in the top 10, but somewhere around 7, 8, 9, or 10. He's not the kind of guy that, like, Jalen Ramsey is like, oh, no, I'm in trouble this week. No, he's like, no, I got it. Don't worry, guys. Yeah, he might catch some passes where they run a few picks for him, and he gets a 6-yard completion when I'm in man-to-man, but whatever. He's a really good route runner. His greatness is predicated on a guy that throws laser beams that stick on his numbers everywhere. That's the greatness of him. But you go through the rest of the group, Mike, and again, Robert Tonyan, there's a lot of good there. I like it. Scantling has a role, but it's all a role that is predicated on Rodgers being amazing that makes them good. That's where I just won't go off of it. And, Mike, I mean, listen, here, let's just real quick, just for the exercise, because all the people out there, because I saw it too, oh, his weapons are better than you're giving him credit for. Okay, here we go. Not as good as Kansas City, not as good as Buffalo, not as good as the Vikings, really not as good as Arizona, not as good as Tampa Bay, not as good as the Raiders, questionable with the Chargers, questionable with the Colts, Rams are better, Cowboys are better, 49ers are better, Browns are better, Seahawks. Steelers are way better. That's not even like, I'm not even there yet. That's of course they are. The Seahawks with DK and Lockett, it's close. Their top 2 is better than Green Bay's top 2. I know that. Okay, so they're better. All right, let's get to Carolina Panthers, better. Miami Dolphins with Waddle now, probably better. Broncos, better. Steelers, like you said, better. I mean, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said the middle. It's the bottom third of the league. That's what it is. It's the bottom third. Shut up, Twitter.
You feel strongly about this.
I do, because once the more you unpack it and think about it, you go, it's absolutely insane that people are even trying to make the argument that it's a special team. It's a special group around him. Bullcrap.
During the break, check your right ear. I think some blood is trickling out of it. I'm not sure that would be a major cause for concern, though. But you turned purple there for a second.
Okay.
Like Bruce Arians wearing a purple shirt. We've established Bruce Arians has chameleon powers. Whatever Keller's shirt he's wearing is the color. Yeah, you were the color of the bricks for a little bit.
Nothing pisses me off more when like I don't even know what do I want to say. Like hate that has no business being thrown in one spot on somebody can piss me off more. Even the people I don't like. If you start to talk like that, I don't care. I'm going to start going, that's wrong. No. I mean, and I just can't take that aspect of it, like seeing that over the last few days even on TV and everything else.
You made a point that reminds me of an old sports debate from the days when your dad was playing.
Yeah.
And it was the Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. Who made who? Whom? Who made whom, I guess would be the right way to say it if we're being fancy. But, is it Rice? Is it Montana? Montana delivering the ball between the 8 and the 0 when Rice was in full stride didn't hurt matters.
Of course.
And as it relates to Rodgers, yeah, Davante Adams runs down the field and there's the back shoulder throw that is just right there and the defensive back has no chance. You don't have to get open if Rodgers trusts you to catch it if he puts it right where it needs to be. So how much of Adams is from Rodgers, and how much would Adams thrive or not thrive with a different quarterback? And is it? And I don't want to disrespect Davante Adams.
Yeah, he's real good.
Pop him out and pop another guy in there. Does that guy become Davante Adams?
I don't know about that, but I don't think the drop off would be as severe as everybody thinks. Receptions, fantasy football, things like that. And just all those stats make people overvalue players in general. I mean, that's just what happens. But no, to me, of course, Adams is really good. He's a real good route runner. He's not a top 5 receiver because top 5 receivers to me are guys that make defenses have to change and go, wait, we can't play this guy man-to-man or we can't play these coverages. And that doesn't take place with Davante Adams. Again, the route running's nice, but it's still all predicated, run a slant route. Rodgers throws it right underneath his chin. He gets to run full speed with the quickest release and the fastest ball thrown through the air. So he's got all that time to catch the ball, accurately react, do all that. Hey, upfield, back shoulder throws like you're talking about. Hey, slant again, pick play. Hey, they're starting to get over the slant. Fake the slant. Oh, now he's up the sideline. Let me throw a laser before the safety gets over there. Bam. So, yes, to me, Adams real good, not top 5 good, somewhere between 6 and 12 good, but looks like he's top 5 good because he's got a quarterback that's number 1 good. And that number 1 good makes number 9 look top 5 to me. That's how I would at least say it in my assessment. Sorry.
And this also further underscores the chronic failure of the Packers to devote high-round picks on receivers, especially a first-rounder, and last year the decision to trade up and take Jordan Love when T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Laviska Shenault, KJ Hamler, Chase Claypool. Could you imagine Chase Claypool on the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers? That would have been
the game changer.
Think about it. There's a story out there that's never been reported because Mike Tomlin does a great job of keeping this stuff internal. They didn't use Chase Claypool the way they should have used Chase Claypool. I'm not saying he could have had a Randy Moss type of an impact on the NFL last year if he'd been fully unleashed, but we won't know because he wasn't fully unleashed.
Yeah.
If he'd have been drafted by the Packers and fully unleashed with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, holy crap, Chris.
I know. Holy crap. He's a difference maker. I mean, he is a guy that, yes, you have to go, wait, do we want to play this guy man-to-man and do this? Because he could run right by us for an 80-yard touchdown, catch a slant, run for 80-yard touchdown. He's a special entity. So I ask you, you heard me, blabber all that stuff and everything. Where do you think it kind of lies with this group? Do you think I'm going too strong by saying bottom third, or do you think around the middle of the league is proper?
I think when you factor in the quality of the quarterback, it's fair to say bottom third, because if you took the weapons away from most other teams and put them in Green Bay, they'd upgrade when paired with Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And we may find out Jordan Love with those weapons, what it's going to look like, and then Aaron Rodgers with maybe the Broncos' weapons, if that happens, if the Packers decide to trade him. Who knows at this point whether they will. All right, the running backs, they kept Aaron Jones on a long-term deal. They have A.J. Dillon, who was a second-round pick last year, second-round pick.
Right.
And Dexter Williams is the other running back. Jamal Williams went to Detroit via free agency. Where do they stack up? Where do they fit? Whatever metric you want to say, where are the running backs in comparison to other teams' running backs?
I mean, this, first off, like, Dillon and Dexter Williams are not really even part of the conversation yet. I mean, I don't know what to think of Dillon. Well, all 242 yards he had last year running the ball. Like, so, yes, I think there's a power element, but I sit here as a group and go, okay. I mean, really, it's just about ranking Aaron Jones. That's really what it's all about. We're talking about one guy. It's one guy that really helps the offense out. And so I guess as a whole, Aaron, I'm going to say top 10-ish. All right? That's about where I'm going to go. Top 10-ish. I don't think Aaron Jones is a top 5 running back. I don't know how you feel about that, Mike, but I think we're probably in agreement there. When you break down running backs again, Jones is really good, but I'm not going to put him in the class of Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook. I'm not going to put him in the class of Nick Chubb. Who else am I missing? Okay, so yeah, he's right around. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Oh, Christian McCaffrey.
Dalvin
he's
Cook?
healthy.
Did you mention Dalvin Cook?
I did say Dalvin Cook.
Okay.
But okay, so he's around that.
Kamara.
There is who I'm missing. Right. Sorry. So to me, he's on the outside of that group looking in. He's like a 6th or 7th, 8th best running back in football. But then the rest of the group itself, I can't sit here and go, oh, they really help. This is a running back by committee, phenomenal, like the 49ers or the Saints or the Patriots have had over the years. No, not at all. So I guess, I'm going to say top 10-ish as far as the group's concerned. And I think Aaron Jones is on the outside of the top 5 looking in. What about you?
1,100 rushing yards last year for Jones in 14 games. He averaged 5.5 per carry. He's averaged 5.5 per carry 3 of his 4 NFL seasons, which is pretty impressive. 4.6 yards per carry in 2019. He only had 201 carries, and he had, let me look here, another 30 catches. So, I would expect him to be used more, especially for what they're paying him now. I'm surprised they paid him what they did, because I don't think he was getting that on the open market.
No.
Remember, he decided fairly early in the process to stay put. I think it was the day before. Was it the day before the market opened where you could call him? It was something as he was getting closer and closer where they decided to keep him. And I think he knew what wasn't out there elsewhere. And as we've said before, running backs tend to get big money only from the team that they have played for.
Yeah.
Rarely do you see a team swoop in and drop a big pile of cash on the table for a guy that plays that position that hasn't previously played for that team. Jets did it with Le'Veon Bell and proved why maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised they kept him. I'd say that you're right. With Dillon, we don't know. Dillon could have become the guy if Aaron Jones had left. You used a second-round pick on why are you using that? That's what confuses me, because there are plenty. You could use the second-round pick on a receiver, not a running back. You don't need A.J. Dillon when you have Aaron Jones. And it's confusing to me.
Yes.
Because you can find running backs anywhere if you're good at scouting them, and it doesn't take much to scout them. Every team at the college level.
Yeah, look at Aaron Jones. Look where they got him. They didn't spend a 1st or 2nd round pick on Aaron Jones, and look what he's doing for their team, to your point. Yes.
I'd say they're middle of the pack running backs too.
Right.
Maybe a little bit higher than middle of the pack. I got to give.
You got to give Aaron Jones
the capacity
right.
to have special performances. And there was at one point during the 2019 season where Aaron Rodgers was pushing for Aaron Jones to be an MVP consideration. Right. He tailed off a little bit down the stretch that year, but he had 16 touchdowns rushing in 2019. That's a big year for him.
No, it is. But see, this is where I would argue even with this, right? Like we talked about the receivers. But when teams play Green Bay, the mission is stop one thing. It's stop number 12 from dicing you up. Let's play 2 safeties back. let's try to disguise like we're in the box to stop the run and then drop back into coverage because Rodgers is going to get them in the right pass play and he's going to pick us apart. So he gets their offense in these positions to where teams play pass defense because they're more worried about him, and that lends itself to great running looks for Aaron Jones and company too. Because, like, again, Green Bay is a good running team, but I don't look at it and sit there and go, oh, this is like a great running team. They can impose their physical will on all the great defenses in football. No, we don't see that. They kind of feast on the poor, and then when it comes to the really good defenses, they can never really dominate in the run game. It's the same thing. Go through it. Anybody. I challenge you. Last few years, go through the games. Really good defenses, run game disappears. You know, average to below average, oh, Aaron Jones stats and the run stats are great because they're so worried about having to stop Rodgers in the pass game. It just lends itself to big runs. So that's where I argue against, the social media crowd in that department as well.
The good news for the Packers, if there is any in this regard, A.J. Dillon was drafted after the second-round receivers that I rattled off earlier they could have had in lieu of Jordan Love. So it's not like any of those guys were left when they took Dillon, but they still could have had Gabriel Davis in round 3, who ended up being pretty good for the Bills.
Yeah, he did.
Last year. He ended up going in round 4. All right, let's move on to the offensive line. They made David Bakhtiari the highest paid offensive lineman in league history. He was since leapfrogged after that, but still at the time, that was a good contract for him. He suffered, though, the torn ACL in practice as we got close to the end of the season. Elton Jenkins at left guard, Lucas Patrick at center, replacing Corey Linsley, and who knows where that's going to go. Simon Stepaniak at right guard, and Billy Turner at right tackle. How do we feel about the offensive line?
This, to me, is one of the more solid groups on their football team. Now, I mean, yeah, they're going to have, some unproven commodities in the middle. Like with Corey Linsley last year, I would go, oh, no doubt, this is one of the top 10 offensive lines in football. Now, right now, at this second, with Bakhtiari coming off the ACL injury and all of that, Billy Turner's playing right tackle where really he's meant to play guard. That's really what he is. Okay, for sure, top half of football. There's no doubt. Top half of football with maybe potential to even be a little bit better than that. And I will say at the very least, top half of football with maybe the best pass-protecting left tackle in the game. All right, so there's some positives there. But I still will go back to kind of what I said with the running game and Aaron Jones. Like, it's a good group. It's really good. Don't get me wrong. But I don't look at it as going, oh, they're just like an unstoppable force that will impose its will on great defenses. No, we haven't seen that to any capacity from Green Bay. It always goes back to, they're running the ball, but they can't really do it against these great defenses. We got to have to do it with Rodgers winning the game.
It's going to be interesting to see how they ultimately address the center position. I mean, Lucas is projected to move over. Stepaniak completely unproven, 6th-round pick in 2020. They're going to have to tinker some in training camp to get the right mix. You've got the edges figured out, but when you got a Pro Bowler in Jenkins at left guard, do you leave him there? He could go to the middle. Do you move your right guard to the middle? What do you do? Either way, you got to backfill if you move one of your guards. And that's a fairly important part of the offensive line because the heat that can come up the middle. Now, Aaron Rodgers can still move, but if you get that high pressure up the middle, you got to move a lot more quickly than you otherwise would because it's going to be in your face before you know it, Chris.
Yeah, that's right. It affects too many different things when it comes right up in your face. One, you can't see the field as clearly. You can't step into passes that way. Balls can be tipped, which, you're throwing a ball over the middle. Now you got a big defensive tackle in your face coming up the middle. Ball gets tipped, most likely going to be an interception. There's just more, there's less ways to avoid it that way when it's just dominant up the middle that way. But overall, I mean, listen, I think this is a pretty good unit. Yeah, they got some questions and some unproven commodities, but I do look at this as being surely one of the positive things about the team.
And Josh Myers clearly a factor in all of this. He was the second-round pick out of Ohio State. He could end up being the center if they're comfortable letting him be the Week 1 starter. Either way, you're going to have some unproven guys on the field for the Green Bay Packers in 2021. And the center position, fairly important. Fairly big decision as to what they do, assuming that Aaron Rodgers is there, because that's the guy who is making a lot of the calls, adjusting the protection, and keeping Aaron Rodgers from having guys in his face that would force him to run. And hey, we've seen him get injured in the past when, he holds the ball just a little bit longer to let the guy spring open, and it sets him up for that hit that, as he gets older and older could be a problem. So where do we put them? You got him top half?
Yeah, I'm going to say top half. Right. I'm going to say top half, maybe with the potential to be, on the outside of the top 5, looking in that way. But, yeah, I think that as far as I can go is top half right now. Bakhtiari coming off ACL, Billy Turner at right tackle. We're not sure who the center is right now, and you got a new guy playing right guard. Yeah, that does not say top 5 or top 10 offensive lineman when you just say it just like that.
I'll say top half with that asterisk because of Bakhtiari's health.
Yeah.
And it's not quite as work in progress as the Steelers that we talked about earlier.
Right.
But there is that hey, we're really not quite sure. And that's another reason why Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career, you don't embrace the prospect of an offensive line where we're really not sure what it's going to be. All right, the defensive front 7 with Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, the big free agent acquisitions from a couple of years ago. Zadarius Smith has done well. Preston Smith has kind of tailed off. You've got Rashawn Gary, who, where does he really fit when you consider what the Smiths do? And plenty of other guys there. Where do we put them in comparison?
Another confusing pick, Rashawn Gary. I mean, you signed Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith in free agency, and you draft Rashawn Gary in the top 10. They play the same position. So in the middle-ish is where I'll put their front 7. In the middle-ish. That's about where it is. There's only 2 guys you worry about when you play Green Bay in the front 7. There's 2 guys. It's Kenny Clark and Zadarius Smith. Yes, there's some other good there, but nothing special, right? So that would be the big thing I look at. And, hey, you look at the defense, takeaways, a lot of the times is caused by what? The front 7. Pressure on the quarterback. Hit the quarterback as he's throwing. Oh, the pocket's collapsing. He can't throw the ball quite the way he wants to. Errant pass, interception. That speaks to that too there, just that graphic. But, yeah, I look at it that way. You said it. Preston Smith was underwhelming last year. Rashawn Gary, they're trying to find a spot. They got a few other guys that, are solid players, but not the difference makers that you look at some of the top defenses in football have. So that's where I just go kind of in the middle-ish.
Yeah, they gave us that sense the year that they went out and got the 2 Smiths.
Yeah, 2 years ago. It was more special.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, here we go.
Right.
Here we go. Let's go. The defense is finally going to be dramatically better.
Yes.
Until it wasn't. Until the NFC Championship
Both
game,
NFC Championship games, they've been outclassed.
And remember when Zadarius Smith told us, and this is a deeper issue that goes to coaching, leadership, and this is where you could arguably pull Aaron Rodgers into the zone of blame.
Yeah.
When Zadarius Smith tells us, candidly, refreshingly,
right,
but also very troublingly, that when they went to San Francisco for the NFC Championship game, we weren't ready to play. And Smith said, I wasn't ready to play. How? How does that happen? You're a game away from the Super Bowl. How in the – you may not be good enough, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. How in the hell are you not ready to play? And where is Aaron Rodgers in that equation? Because I'll tell you what, the Buccaneers in the 2020 NFC Championship game were damn ready to play. Why? In part because of Tom Brady. And they were damn ready to play against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. Why? Because Tom Brady was texting them every damn night, we will win. So that's something that we'll never really fully, truly know. And I think part of it, too, is it reminds me of when Emmanuel Sanders, I think it was, ended up in Denver with Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
It may have been and said, wow, I didn't realize the difference between Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning until I got a chance to play with Peyton Manning. It may be some of these guys don't understand what it's like to play with Tom Brady until they play with Tom Brady and how he takes over the team and he makes sure everyone's ready to play. Because I guarantee you there have probably been few playoff games in Tom Brady's career where his teammates would say after the fact, we weren't ready to play.
No, I mean, that wouldn't exist. It wouldn't exist. Now, again, yeah, Brady he's a great leader. He's one of the greatest we've ever seen. There's no doubt about that. But again, too, he was in a spot where he got to grow into that, and the culture wasn't all put on him and everything like that. Here it's not the same in Green Bay. That's where it's a little different. And again, you say what you want about the guys being ready and all that. We're talking about the front seven on defense. Brady didn't have to get JPP and Sue and Devin White ready. They're ready. They're ready. Obviously there is an issue there with Green Bay, and it shouldn't be on the quarterback. That's extra benefit. Sure, Brady's I'm not going to argue that. Definitely got an advantage over Aaron Rodgers in that department. Leadership, control of the locker room, the message he sends to the world, whatever, all that, totally. But there's more issues with the team itself that Rodgers has to deal with as compared to Brady. That's where I would say that's a little different for me.
Won't it be interesting to see the stories that emerge from the Packers if and when Rodgers is traded? Because I guarantee you, once he's gone, there will be a torrent of reports. And I think it'll be unfair because it may become a feeding frenzy of all the ways that Rodgers kept the team from being as good as it could have been, all coming from the Packers. Once he's traded, once he's no longer there, I expect there will be a ton of news items about the things Rodgers did to keep the team from winning, the things he didn't do that Tom Brady would do to make the team better. I guarantee you that's coming if and when Rodgers is gone.
I would think so, quick. Yeah.
And I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Well, it's because he's still on the team, but it's going to be released and he's not. Yeah.
They're still hoping to get him to stay on the team. All right, the secondary, Jair Alexander, Kenny King, Eric Stokes, Darnell Savage, Adrian Amos, where do they fit?
Well, listen, I think that's one of them. It's a pretty damn good group. Like, to me, I don't know if I'm going to top 10 for sure. I'll say that much. I mean, Jair Alexander is a guy we don't really talk about enough. He is one of the best pure cover corners in all of football. Kevin King crapped his bed and crapped down his leg and pissed his bed and down his leg in the NFC Championship game. We know that. But overall, it's a pretty solid player.
3.
Yeah, I mean, overall, he's got a lot of positives. Safety plays good. So I look at their secondary as being one of the better things about their team. They got a little versatility. They can play man, zone, do all of it. But what we've come to really with all these positions is the Green Bay Packers are a middle-of-the-road type team that we look at, and we think they're a Super Bowl contender because of one guy. That's the one thing this exercise has proven to me.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.